Alright, this is John Colo with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. This episode I'm coming at you from my backyard garden. It's beautiful this time of year. Happy summer for all you guys. To me, it's already been summer. It's been like in the 80s, 90s, and when even we hit 100 here, a while back. So not a big deal. My garden is doing great. So anyways, in this episode, what I really want to get into is a way that actually I've been eating for like 24 years now, since 1995 when I got into a basically raw vegan diet, or I like to say raw plant-based diet, high nutrient dense diet, right? You're like, John, I know you've been raw vegan, man. That's what your channel's about. Okay raw, because it's okay to eat some raw foods in your life. I'm not going to say you need to be all raw like, other people doing this lifestyle. But what I will say is you want to eat as much raw fruits and vegetables as you possibly could get in, and make sure that they are never displaced by other foods that are not as good for you, right? Might be good to include some other things as well, depending on your lifestyle, what you think. But fruits and vegetables, especially the vegetables, are one of the most important foods on the planet. And this is actually a way that I eat them, specifically that if you watch me, you'll kind of discern what I'll be talking about today. But I'm going to tell you guys straight up what I've been doing, all right? So one of the things and one of the ways I like to learn is by watching nature, right? I'm just sitting here in my garden. I have all these like celery in flower. I have all these different flowering plants. My basil's in flower. The mint's going to flower. The lavender's in flower. I have some beet flowers. Even these flowers right here, actually. This is my kumquat tree, and this is actually the spot I like to actually kick back and eat my lunch, because I could just like look at my garden. It's just all greenery around me, and it's a little bit of shade underneath this tree. Plus, this tree's currently in flower and bloom, and the flowers just basically remind me of like an orange orchard. Yes, it's a kumquat related to citrus, so it's a citrus orchard smell right underneath here. So amazing. And here's the thing, man. I was just eating here. I was eating some local peaches and nectarines, and I hear this buzzing. And I swear, right above me, like right here, you guys can't see it, it's right off the camera, but literally no more than a foot from my head, there's a hummingbird just like humming, flapping its wings, and sucking the nectar out of my kumquat tree flowers, as well as helping pollinate it for me. And so, like, I like to model nature and see how nature works. There's many different birds and bees around. Actually, another bird was actually sitting in my goji berry plant and actually eating the goji berries without me. So I'm like, hey, that's great. It's eating goji berries, and it's gonna, fly somewhere else and then poop and drop the seeds. And guess what? There's gonna be more goji berry plants coming up in random spots, in town, so that more of the wildlife and people can actually eat. In addition, all the little pollinators are going around to the different flowering crops right now and getting pollen, and basically that's their food source. The bees are coming around getting the pollen. That's what they eat, right? Creatures and mammals in nature, whatever kind of creature they are, they eat whatever they could find. And what I will say is that they are eating opportunistically, right? If the bees find my celery flowers and it's some pollen that they consider they will eat, that's what they're going to eat, because that's what they found and that's what's in season right now, right? The hummingbird, right? It found these guys. These bloom only like maybe, once, maybe twice a year. It found these guys. It ate them. The bird saw the ripe goji berries and it ate them, right? If you're like making dinner and you have a dog and you drop something by accident on the floor, right? Your dog's waiting right there. He eats it, right? Your dog is opportunistic. He's waiting for any food that may drop that he might like, and he will eat it if he determines he likes it. So this, nature does opportunistic eating. Even carnivores, they've studied in China carnivorous animals that are basically eat, meat-based diet. But then when it's fruit season, this one carnivore, and I'm sure there's many others, when it's fruit season, there's lots of fruit abundant and available and easy to get, right? That this mammal will switch its diet from, being primarily carnivorous to being frugivorous, right? So, even animals, your dog, you may see some grass sometimes outside. It'll just start eating blades of grass, right? Once again, opportunistic based on what's available, what's around, and what's available in nature, right? And so I want you guys to eat opportunistically. Now, by opportunistically, I'm talking about a vegan opportunistic diet, not a carnivorous opportunistic diet. Not like, oh, John, I was in the grocery store and there was chicken in the case, like cut up all nice, so I bought it and ate it because it's an opportunity. Well, with grocery stores, we have huge opportunities, but that's not how I necessarily want you to eat. And I want to define opportunistic, so I printed this page out from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And opportunistic, adjective, the first definition is exploiting opportunities with little regard to principle or consequences. So like if you're vegan, oh, I just found some meat, I ate it. So that's, John said eat opportunistically. No, that's not what I'm saying, and I'm not looking at the first definition of opportunistic. I want you guys to take the second definition into heart when talking about this specific subject, which is B, feeding on whatever food is available, right? That doesn't mean if you go to, a potluck and it's a vegan potluck, you happen to be raw vegan and there's junky, oily, salty, fatty, macaroni and cheese that you just eat it because, oh, John, I was a potluck, it's free, I can eat whatever I want, I just ate it. No! Even more so, I want you guys to be a nutrient-dense or nutritarian, opportunistic, plant-based eater. So that's the full thing, but that would have been a good title. So basically the title's like 10 ways to be an opportunistic vegan. Just in terms of dietary lifestyle. I have a whole video on being vegan, my definition of vegan, down below if you want to learn more about that. So anyways, yeah, I want you guys to be a nutrient-dense or nutritarian, opportunistic, plant-based eater, right? To the much extent as you can. And this is what I've been doing personally for a few reasons. Number one, I want to have a varied diet. Number two, I'm incredibly frugal. And number three, I like food so much. So first thing I want to say is that I really want to encourage you guys to eat what's called a nutritarian or nutrient-dense diet. This was coined by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, and he understands that it's very important to get high nutrient-dense foods, especially in this day and age when standard agricultural foods are not as nutritious as they once used to be, and most Americans are eating high-calorie foods without a lot of nutrient density. These are the things that are not necessarily measured on a calorie label. It's the vitamins, the minerals, the trace elements, the micronutrients such as the lycopene, the beta carotene, the different kind of things in kumquats that are anti-cancer. It's the anthocyanin pigments, the different colors of foods. It's all these things that are yet studied and unstudied, that are can be very health advantageous for us. I mean, for example, this plant, the water pepper, right? This water pepper, believe it or not, I looked it up. This is actually good for blood pressure. A lot of the plants, basically, they're just chemical factories. So the more variety you guys could get in your diet, I think the better off you'll be, because this plant could, help your body do certain things. Another plant can help your body do other things. And if you're only eating like lettuce and bananas and dates, you're never going to get, the properties or the chemicals in this plant that can have amazing effects in the body, in my opinion, and based on some of the research and studies that I've seen. And actually even more so, how some of these plants were traditionally used across the generations and across the world, from native peoples. And, we've forgotten this lost culture. So I like to look at that, when I'm looking at different foods. How was it used traditionally? Because, in many cases, traditional peoples, they didn't have science, they didn't have all these things. They were going to lose their life. They had to eat something and see if it was going to heal them, right? And that's how they learned. So first way to be an opportunistic, nutrient-dense eater, and by focusing on more phytonutrients, is simply, and this is not a surprise to many of you guys, grow your own garden, right? Oh my God, that's why I grow my own garden, so that I could be the ideal opportunistic eater, right? Not only can I provide food for nature, for the birds, the bees, the pollinators, I have lizards here in my garden, I have all kinds of different creatures in my garden, some more desired than others, but I can provide them food, and they're eating opportunistically. If there's tomatoes in my garden, I had hordeworms the other day, they're eating my tomato plants, or eating my pepper plants, or I have these little things that eat my kale plants, little caterpillar things and whatnot. And that's because that's their food source, so they found it and then ate it, right? But me as a larger creature, right, I have probably hundreds of different foods in my garden anytime I need. The water spinach here, I got moringa there, I got blue dazzling kale here, I got, longevity spinach here, I got ashitaba in front of me, I got Ferrari spinach, I got mint, I got Malabar spinach, I got cucumbers, I got squash, I mean, I got chard, I got beets, I got peppers. I mean, I got like so many things. I could just keep going and I don't want to bore you guys. But so you guys are getting the point. Like, you know, how many of you guys have ever had water pepper, right? If you guys don't grow it yourself, you're probably never going to get to taste it. And this guy grows really easy. It self-seeds on its own and comes back in random spots in my garden. So I love it. And when I'm hungry, right, I take a stroll around my garden. I look at like, hey, what do I feel like eating? Number one. Number two, what do I really need to eat? Because I'm going to lose it soon, right? If you grow a garden, you're going to eat seasonally. Like right now, 100-degree weather, I'm not growing lettuce. But, you know, just 3 months ago, I was growing lettuce, right? And so what I'm growing every season is changing. I'm growing Malabar spinach now. That doesn't grow in the cold season. So now I'm going to really eat a lot of that until it goes away, maybe like November, December, when it starts getting cold. Then I'm going to grow different crops. So in this way, you're going to have the highest quality food, and you're going to literally have free food at your door that you don't have to buy, that's higher quality than money can buy, and even a more varieties of foods you can grow that money you couldn't find anywhere, right? I have these really cool herbs. I got like, I don't know, about 6 different herbs that I brought back from Dallas on a recent trip, like all these Vietnamese greens that have amazing properties, including gotu kola, some kind of like bitter leaf, some rice paddy herb, some kind of cool like mint, all kinds of cool stuff, right? So number one, put in a garden. You know, even if you have a couple pots or like even in a windowsill inside your home, grow some herbs. Grow something. Grow some sprouts and microgreens inside, because if you don't normally eat them and you start eating them, that's going to raise up the level of your diet. You can be more opportunistic, because when you got ripe sprouts there, guess what? You're going to eat them. Much like the birds found my goji berries and they're eating them too, right? And so I want to just try to get us back to nature, number one, because that's if we were in nature, we lived in a cave in the middle of a forest, right? We would just actually, and we didn't have bills, that'd be kind of cool. You could just go around and scavenge in the forest and see what you could find all day, right? And that's what you would be eating, right? In this way, I'm actually planting things so that I can eat them, you know. And then of course, sometimes nature plants things. Like this guy, I didn't plant, he just came up on his own. Second way to eat opportunistically is get back to nature. Take a walk in nature, whether that means to you going to the forest, going to the beach, going to a local park if you live in New York City. And I want you guys to take a course from a local wild foods expert, right? Katrina Blair is in Colorado. There's John Callis up in like, you know, the Portland, Oregon area, last I heard. There's many different wild forager peoples that teach this stuff. There's Green Dean over down in Florida. You know, there's people in New York City, like all over. There's people that are teaching wild foods, right? So go on a class with them and take a hike in your local park or wherever they take you, so that you could start to identify some of the different wild foods. I mean, some of the ones are really easy. I'll put a link down below to the video I did with Katrina Blair with some common weeds that may be even in your local neighborhood, provided, you know, they're not being sprayed or anything like that. You know, wild foods are so amazingly good for us, and they're really not talked about enough in the raw foods, you know, movement. And even plant-based diet, right? These are foods that we could have access to. Some of them can be eaten raw, but many wild foods do need to be heat processed to remove the toxins before we eat them. So, you know, I just want you guys to get more wild foods and you become educated, and don't pick anything that you think might be edible unless you're 100% to 10% sure. So that's why I say take a class with somebody so you could get hands-on experience, because looking at something in a book and trying to compare it, you know, that's a little bit difficult, you know, unless you have some kind of horticulture or botany degree or have some background in that, right? So wild foods are so important. You know, what I like to do is kind of take wild foods to the next level. I like to harvest wild seeds and then bring them back into my garden and then grow them in, you know, my soil blend, my soil mixture, which may be, in many cases I think, so more nutritious soil than just, you know, a random spot in nature. You know, there's local mountains and, you know, where I could go and I could harvest like wild pine nuts or pinion nuts, you know, from the pines, you know, Italian stone pines. And, you know, that's just so amazing. So look into wild foods near you, you know, as a good source of being an opportunistic eater. Number 3, this is where some commerce gets involved. And, you know, I think commerce in our lives have both, you know, made things better for us, but also ruined things on some levels when things are being done for money. You know, I think corners get cut because people lose the bigger picture and just focus on the almighty dollar or yen or, you know, kroner or whatever the monetary measure tool in your country is. So the next few ones are about using the money that you earn by working and trading your hours for dollars that then you're now trading for food. I think a much better approach is to trade your time to grow food so you could cut out the middleman, have higher quality food. But enough about that. But so anyways, the best place to go to get food freshest that I know of is a farm. So you want to go directly to the farm. Earlier this week, actually 2 days ago, Thursday, I went to 2 farms and I picked apricots fresh and ate a few off the tree to taste test them. They weren't really good, so I didn't buy any. I had maybe a peach too. Bought some cucumbers that I picked myself fresh at the farm. I mean, that's the best way. Pick it fresh at a U-Pick farm if you have those in your area. The second farm I went to, I basically bought like 20 pounds of peaches, a few apricots, and tomatoes for an amazingly low price. And so I got my food fresh, right? I mean, I'm growing, some tomatoes here, but I don't have enough that I need, so I supplement by going to a local farm and buying what is in season, right? And a real local farm, right? So that's the next best thing to do. If you're able to do that, go visit a local farm. So after going to a farm, number 4 way of eating opportunistically is go to a farmer's market, right? Unfortunately, not all farmers markets are true farmers markets. If you guys live in California, you guys are spoiled because farmers markets in California are certified farmers markets by state law, which means the farmer must be there selling his produce or his direct representative. In farmers markets in California, there shouldn't just be people buying stuff wholesale and then unloading it and setting up a table in a booth and selling it. No, it has to be from a real farm, certified, although I have found, a few places buying things wholesale and selling it across the year, so you always want to be a little bit wary, even in California. Many other states, though, they have no such laws. I know, here in Nevada, people commonly will just drive to California, maybe go to farms, maybe go to the wholesale produce terminal, buy stuff, bring it back, set up their table at the farmer's market local, and act like they grew it. That's why you should always ask, did you grow this? And ask them when it was harvested. Ask them what kind of fertilizer did you use? What kind of pesticide did you apply? Ask them these questions so and you could kind of better gauge if you think they're telling the truth or not, so that you're really getting local food. Because hey, if you're just going to the farmer's market and you're getting like wholesale produce that you could just buy at the store, maybe even sometimes for less, I don't think there's a point to that. So you want to support your local farmers. I love local farmers. I'm glad that they're doing the work they're doing. Many of them are just trying to make a buck. Some of them might be, adding extra things or so because they care about the quality and the health of their plants, which then they know makes higher quality fruit and vegetables. Although, even in organic agriculture, there's no specific requirements that you must be adding certain nutrients to your soil to make sure you grow the highest quality food. But at least there's other practices that are being done. Hopefully, if you're going to the farmer's market, you're going to buy food that was picked maybe the day before or even the morning of, even better. And you'll have access to fresh fruits and vegetables that are in season. I could say eat in season, but, that's important. But I like to eat opportunistically because, if I'm at the farmer's market, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I was at a farmer's market and they were selling cherries, homegrown cherries, non-sprayed. They did use some synthetic fertilizer, but it was $4 a pound for like really nice, like non-sprayed, homegrown cherries. It was at the end, it was like closing in 10 minutes, and I said, hey, would you give me a special deal if I bought like a whole box? She's like, well, we can't sell this box, but we have the box back there, what we picked 2 days ago. And she says, if you buy the whole box, I'll sell it for $2 a pound. So like now I'm thinking, wow, $2 a pound for like homegrown, like really ripe, like good, delicious cherries. I'm like, sold American. So I gave her my $32 and I bought 16 pounds of cherries. And guess what? When cherries are stored properly, like at even 32 degrees, they can keep for a good long while. So when they're picked fresh. And so even 3 weeks later, I still have some in my fridge. I've been dolling them out and eating them here and there. I think I'm going almost running out. And that's how I literally eat, because I found a deal on them. I bought a bunch, and maybe I'll freeze dry some or something. We'll talk about that later. And earlier this week I got the peaches, and then last weekend, which is 7 days ago now, actually I got like 30 pounds of white nectarines. Follow me on Instagram if you guys aren't already. If you guys want to see what I'm up to, what I'm eating, and how I'm eating opportunistically, and what's ripe in my garden. And that's generally, what I'm eating. And so yeah, visit farmers markets. You guys could find some definitely good deals. Go at the end if you want to try to bargain and get some better prices. Buy in large quantities. And of course, go around to every farmer and see, what tastes the best. Also, eating opportunistically is, I had an ex-girlfriend, rest in peace, Novali. She used to love to go to farmers markets because she could just walk around like multiple times and get all the free samples, like multiple times. Like some of the bigger markets in California, you could almost like make a meal out of going there, just going around and getting the samples. But at the same time, you guys could tell the quality of the produce and see which one tastes better to you. And if you're like, like I am, sometimes I'll bring my bricks meter. I'll put a link down below to a video I made up in Canada, with my bricks meter and testing cherries for the highest quality cherries. So you could learn more about that. And, and I found the best cherries there, which actually weren't organic, which surprised me. Fifth tip is for those of you guys that don't have any local farms or farmers markets near you, right? The other thing about eating opportunistically for me as a modern person living in a money-based society, as much as I'm not a super huge fan of that, that's how I live. I got to pay my bills, I got to make my payments and my insurance and my house payment and all these kind of things. And, I earn money and then I use it to spend. That being said, my mom and my parents raised me to be frugal. I grew up in a middle-class family, and my parents would always basically shop, and we'd go shopping together, and they'd buy what's on sale, and that's what would be eaten for the week because they didn't have a lot of money. And so I guess even from a young age, I still try to like buy what's on sale and get good deals. And so every week I want you guys to go shopping at least once. I try to go shopping maybe 2 to 3 times a week. I don't want my life taken up by shopping, and I know a lot of you guys have busy lives. I mean, I do too. But I feel the more I could, make some shopping trips and go out and just stop at multiple places, the kind of better deals I'll find, and also the better food I find, and also the more opportunities I have, and to be opportunistic and buy things that are, for a good price. So the next tip is to shop sales. This is a local supermarket here, Market On. The sale ads in where I am come out every Wednesday. So every Wednesday, all the Mexican markets basically get new sale ads. Health food stores, Sprouts and Whole Foods, they get new ads, and they all put them online, so you don't have to actually get the paper copy. And you can look up and see what's on sale that week. A lot of the stores here in my area basically have special Wednesday sales where prices are cheaper, than they will be, because they want people to come out on Wednesday, because traditionally, I guess that's a day where people don't go shopping, because people usually shop on the weekends when they have it off. Luckily, I get to set my own schedule. But check this out. Here's Market On, and here's the 2-day sale they had Wednesday and Thursday. What's that? Jackfruit. What's that? 3 pounds for $1 for jackfruit. The next one is, they had jicama 4 pounds for $1, but I'd rather get jackfruit for 3 pounds for $1. That being said, I went to my local Market on Thursday, and they didn't have any. They're like, we're out. And I'm like, come on, man, that's so weak. Then I went on Friday to 2 different Market Ons, and one of them had like one old jackfruit that wasn't anywhere near ripe for 33 cents a pound. I was like, I'm not going to waste my money on that. So then I went to my other favorite store that has jackfruit on sale for the whole week, not just one day, for 50 cents a pound, called La Bonita, and I was able to find a nice jackfruit. Yeah, it's 17 cents more per pound, but 50 cents a pound still is under wholesale for a nice jackfruit I got. It was 20 pounds and cost me 10 bucks, right? And that's because I was there at the right place, right time, and I knew the sales, right? So I'll go out on Wednesdays and like, okay, well, I'll look up on the online ads and see like, well, Market On has jackfruit for 33 cents. This place maybe has some pineapples that aren't organic that I'll eat on occasion for 99 cents. I generally juice them. This place will have this place will have this, and then I'll basically just make a couple different stops on Wednesdays, always stopping at the 99 only store, which is a certain brand of dollar stores that carry produce for the most part, and they'll have organic produce. So I was like, a couple weeks ago I was getting bags of organic baby peppers, those 1 pound bags that sell for like $4 or $5 at Whole Foods. They're $1. So I was like, I'd buy like 13, 14 packages. I'd freeze dry them. I've been drinking pepper juice. I've been having pepper-based soups, pepper-based dressings, just coming out of my ears. Peppers, now peppers are coming on in my garden. And this is how I save money, eat opportunistically, and also peppers. They're in season right now, so I'm going to eat a lot of them. Generally whatever's. Oh, and then they had hot house grown cucumbers. 3 for $2 at the dollar store. So I've been juicing basically straight cucumber juice. Today I'm making cucumber pineapple ginger after this video. And that's how I eat, right? So you want to shop the sales, check the ads every week, and you want to stock up on the items that are on sale for that week, because that's what's in influx in the market, and that's what's most in season at this time, right? So that's my tip on that, right? Opportunistic eater way number 6 is, fill in at warehouse club stores. I love warehouse club stores. They sell in bulk. I mean, my local Sam's Club is the absolute cheapest place to buy 1 pound bins of organic spinach, 1 pound bins of organic spring mix. The 1 pound bin of organic spring mix is, I think, $3.35, which is like insane. At like Sprouts, it's $5. At Whole Foods, it's like $6. And the organic spinach 1 pound, I think, is $3.55. Now the prices may vary near you at your warehouse club store. I think the further away you get from California, the more expensive it is. So Hawaii is like more expensive, Florida's more expensive, but luckily I live in a decent place where it's actually quite affordable. And the warehouse club stores, they always have pretty good prices. I get the organic carrots. I fill in with organic carrots. If I can't find other things, especially in the wintertime, I'm eating or juicing more carrots, than not. Carrots is a really nutritious food, and also it's very inexpensive organic food. It's $2.99 for a 5 pound bag at Sam's Club. Even like Natural Grocers here in town has it for $3.49 for 5 pounds. Costco here in town is $7 for 10 pounds, so it's actually about as cheap as getting it in Natural Grocers. So, shop around for the best deals. Costco generally has more organic stuff than Sam's Club, but this week at Sam's Club I also found organic 18-ounce blueberries. It was like $3.88 or something like that. So that's like insanely cheap. Now they had like organic, and then the ones that were coming in were not organic, so I don't know if you'll be able to still find that. And then the other thing I found, which I had an Instagram post on, so you want to follow me on Instagram, was I was able to find these things called gummy berries, right? So they're basically grapes that taste like gummy bears. I'm not joking. I mean, as much as I remember what gummy bears taste like, it's been probably 30 or 40 years since I've eaten them. Yes, I've been alive that long because I was a kid. Yeah, they taste amazing. So they're grapes that just totally taste amazing. And I got the biggest idea the other day. And actually, they put them on sale. The first time I got 3 pounds for $10, and then they just put them on sale. It was 3 pounds for $7 because I think they're closing them out and they're not going to be coming back. So check your Sam's Club soon. Maybe other stores will get that. But yeah, gummy bear grapes, totally amazing. I had an amazing idea. I'm going to freeze dry them. So freeze-dried grapes are insane, but now these freeze-dried gummy bear grapes are going to be even more insane because they're going to have the sweetness plus a really concentrated, like, I don't know, like amazingly fruity flavor. Gonna be insane. Yeah, so shop warehouse club stores. After that, then I would fill in at health food stores. If you and some of them have sales, some of them don't. With other items, if you weren't able to source enough things at the other places first, I try to eat out of my garden predominantly. Go down the list. Eat out of the garden first. Eat from farms second. Eat from farmers markets third. If I gotta fill in, then I'll get some things at Costco, and get some things at the dollar store. Get some things at the health food store to fill in, so I have a nice, well-rounded, diet. Depending on the time of year, I fill in with different items, and that's how it goes. So number 7 tip to eat opportunistically is, now that you have all this food, what do you do with it, right? Because you're just buying random stuff that's on sale, that's in season for a good price, that tastes good to you. And some of the easiest things to do are just have a mono meal, right? This time of year, stone fruits are in season. I just had a mono meal of nectarines and peaches, and I'm gonna probably after this video eat some cherries that I got, and just eating mono meal. So it's super simple. Just eat some fruit. Fresh fruit is one of the best foods on the planet, right? I don't want to discourage you guys from eating fruit. Even people with diabetes, check the link down below for a video I did with Robbie Barbero. He eats a fruit-based diet, and he has type 1 diabetes actually. And yeah, so I would encourage you guys to eat whole fresh fruits. Sometimes I'll even make smoothies with fruits and whatnot, but generally I just like to eat my fruits fresh if they're ripe and ready to go, right? The other thing is with the vegetables, what do you do with 13 pounds of peppers, John? So if I got 13 pounds of like baby mini peppers, right, I'm gonna juice them and have basically a quart of juice. It takes about 7 pounds to make a quart of juice from my last time I did it. And so that cost me $7 for a quart of pepper juice. Then that pepper juice, I could use the whole quart, blend it up with some nuts, some seeds, some herbs, some spices, and some mushroom powders and seaweed powders, and basically in dried peppers and dried tomatoes to make it nice and thick. and use it as my soup base. I'll put a link down below to a video I made on how I make my fresh soup and a soup base. You know, the other night I actually turned that pepper juice, added it with other dried peppers with lots of dried peppers and maybe a few dates and some other herbs and spices. Turned it into a dip that I was able to dip in my freeze-dried, heat processed shiitake mushrooms, so I could eat them as a snack, or dipped in fresh cucumbers from my garden into basically a pepper dip that's tomato or pizza flavored seasoning in there. It's quite good. You know, you could just drink the pepper juice straight. I was like in a hitch. I was running out the door for an appointment or going somewhere. I was like, I got the pepper juice, just bring it with me and I could just drink it. And it's just great, right? Some of the peppers also I would freeze dry. If you don't have a freeze dry, you could dehydrate them. We'll be talking about that in a minute. But I want you guys to get through the food and be creative with the food you got. Like, how could I use like 30 pounds of cucumbers? Well, if I got 30 pounds of cucumbers, which I probably do right now, is I juice them, and I have basically quart jars of juice in my fridge. So like every day I could just grab a quart and drink, or grab 2 quarts and drink. If I'm out the door, I grab a quart, take it with me, drink it on the road. So I always have food prepared and ready to go, so it just makes my lifestyle convenient, so I could do what I want to do. Yes, of course, I'd spend some time in the kitchen. I have an assistant that helps me 2 days a week for helping me out, and he gets some of the things prepared so that I don't have to, right? So that's how I use some of the stuff. And you can have a pepper-based salad. Cut a lot of peppers up, maybe harvest some greens out of my garden, mix all that together. I want you guys to get creative, right? Eating a raw food, plant-based, nutrient-dense diet to me is not about doing the same thing day in, day out. I eat bananas for breakfast, romaine salad, and then I had fruit for dinner, and it's always the same thing. Switch it up, guys. Become creative. The juices can be used to turn it into a dressings, a sauce, a soup. You can just drink it as a juice if you're lazy, you don't want to make anything at night. You could just sprinkle it on things. You could use it as a dip to dip in freeze-dried fruits or rehydrate them. Actually, I haven't tried that. I could dip my freeze-dried peppers into fresh pepper juice. I wonder what that's going to taste like. It's going to be like concentrated goodness. But yeah, I want you guys to use the food you got, turn it into recipes, become creative. If you don't know how to be creative with making recipes, because I have been doing this while, I do have a recipe book to give you guys some ideas. I'll post a link down below to that, gygbook.com. And also use Google. Google is your best friend. Type in raw food recipe cucumbers, and then some, Google will find you some raw food recipes that use cucumbers. Use a bunch of cucumbers. If I had a lot of cucumbers, I might spiralize them, make cucumber noodles, or just shred them, like julienne, shred them into like noodles, and then like use that pepper juice as a soup base. Maybe put a little bit of miso, some chopped onions, some herbs from my garden. Call it a soup, right? Super simple, super easy, but you got to come up with recipes using all the food you got, and so that it doesn't go bad, and so that you're going to get the benefit. For me anyways, the price is important. Maybe if you're like a millionaire and stuff and you got a lot of money, maybe it's not so important, but like I like to get what's a good deal and organic, and just pound it in me. Especially peppers are one of the most nutrient dense fruits, non-sweet fruits you guys could eat, and I want to encourage you guys to eat more of them. 8th tip to eat opportunistically, right? I want you guys to focus on eating a variety, right? I know some of you guys go to the store with a grocery list every day, right? Or every time you go grocery shopping. Oh, I get carrots, I get oranges, I get Roma tomatoes, I get romaine, I get some dandelion. And every time you go to the store, the wholesale produce terminal, that's what you guys source, that's what you guys buy, and then you basically use that, right? Every time I go shopping, I like, well, what's cheapest, what's organic, and what haven't I eaten lately? How could I get some different foods into me? Because every food tastes different. It lights up different taste buds. It has different phytonutrients, phytochemicals, vitamins, and minerals. It just gets me excited about life, right? If I eat like banana dates and romaine all day, I'd be totally bored, right? I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but I want you guys to take it to the next level. Start experimenting with different foods. Go to the Asian market and try some of the different Asian greens that they're selling at the Asian market. Now, be aware, some of the Asian greens sold at the Asian market do need to be heat processed or cooked before you eat them, but some of them don't. You could try to find the water spinach, which I'm growing right now in my garden. Actually, I bought from the Asian store. That's an amazing lettuce substitute, right? And if you've never tried that, I want you guys to look for water spinach, or it's called Kang Kong, at your local Asian market. But I want you guys to eat a variety of foods and not just always get the same things. Eating seasonally will kind of force you on some levels to do that, because as much as I have the dinosaur kale now, maybe in a month or two, I might not, because it'll be flowering and it'll be done. this guy, I have this for a couple more months and then it's going to be gone. Then I'm off to planting and growing something else, because I'm always planting new plants in my garden. As time comes and goes, the weather changes. Some plants don't like the same weather year round. And so, yeah, try to eat a variety as much as you guys can. Shop at different places. Tip number 9 for eating opportunistically is, if you buy too much of any one food, which for me happens sometimes, oh man, I bought too many peppers, what do I do with it, right? Then I want you guys to preserve them for later so that they don't go bad. My goal is to eat everything that I buy fresh, to eat it fresh. That's goal number 1. Does that always happen? It doesn't, right? I'm a busy person. I try to manage the produce the best I can. I pretty much check all my garden and my produce pretty much every day to see how it's doing, what's going on, and if I need to use it before it goes bad. And if it goes bad, that's all right, because then it goes in my compost and then ends up feeding my garden, without me being an intermediary step, which kind of sucks, but I don't lose actually too much food. So I want you guys to preserve the food if you bought too much so that it doesn't go bad. Number 1 way I'd say is fermentation, right? Fermentation, super simple, super easy. Many things can be fermented just in a jar with some water, with a vacuum, lock on the top. I like these vacuum fermenting lids. If I remember, I'll put a link down below to that video. Super simple. Then you could basically store the food out of the fridge, or if you want to store it for longer, in the fridge. So like all my cabbage that I grew in the winter time, I basically made it into kimchi, and now I'm able to eat that through the summer, and it'll even get me to next winter, and I'm still eating my cabbage because it's fermented and does not even need to be refrigerated, right? So that's number 1. You could ferment it. Number 2 is you can freeze it. Freezing's super simple as long as you got room in your freezer. My freezer's pretty much packed. You guys could freeze the food, and especially I find fruits, if I overbuy fruits, I like to freeze them. Like right now, I'll probably be freezing some nectarines, and I'll be using them instead of frozen bananas in my different smoothies to make my smoothies cold, add some sweetness. Generally, I'll make, deep berry, super berry smoothies with all kinds of deep, rich purple berries and or green smoothies. Overall, generally, though, I like to juice, right? So freezing is a good preservation method. Next way I would say is dehydration. Many of you guys own a dehydrator. Dehydrators are relatively inexpensive. Some of them you could find on Craigslist or whatever for $10, $20, $30. New ones sometimes are even $40. You want to get one with an adjustable thermostat. I have another video on thermostat temperatures, because that's beyond the scope of this video. And then you could dry the foods out and store them, dehydrate them. The peppers would be great to be dehydrated. The tomatoes can be dehydrated. Fruits can be dehydrated, although they oxidize and turn, brown, lose some nutrition. They get really chewy, which is a good and a bad thing. The next level above that is freeze drying. So I basically don't really dehydrate anymore. I use my freeze dryer, which is constantly running. The cycle can take, 48 to 60, 50, 60 hours, depending on what you're freeze drying. It removes 99% of the oxygen. It does it under vacuum while the foods are frozen. So it preserves the highest level of nutrition of, any preservation method that I'm aware of. In addition, I like to use my freeze-dried foods as basically as nutrient packers, right? Because literally a freeze-dried pepper is basically a pepper without the water, with the majority of the nutrients still intact. I could take that freeze-dried pepper and then put it in my pepper juice and then blend it, and then now I basically have a overly strong, basically pepper juice that's thick because of all the fiber in there, plus with more flavor. So I'm really getting a punch, plus I'm getting all the vitamin C and all the different nutrients in the pepper. And so I could add a thickener to make my pepper juice thicker for like a soup, add more flavor, and get more nutrients into me at the same time. So that's kind of fun. In addition, my freeze-dried peppers, I have a few bags stored. They'll store up to 25 years if stored properly in a Mylar bag that's the right mil thickness. I think I'm using like 7.5 mil Mylar bags with 500 cc oxygen absorbers right now that's sealed tightly. So, in case of, zombie apocalypse, I got food stored for a little bit, plus I'm growing some stuff outside. So yeah, freeze drying, really excellent way to store your food as well. My 10th tip to eat opportunistically is, as much as I like to source all these different foods and eat as much as I can, fresh, ripe, and in season, harvested from my garden, from farmers markets, or wherever you get it. I do have some staple foods that I buy when they're on sale, once again, along my travels, or if I tend to be out, then I like to have certain things, a whole range of different nuts and seeds in my cupboard that's labeled. I like to have some dried fruits on hand. Generally the dried fruits I have on hand are like maybe some raisins, some dates. I have, sun-dried tomatoes on hand. I dry my own peppers. and I'll have these to actually add as thickeners. I could have other, I'll be freeze drying some of my own zucchinis lately, soon enough. Use those as thickeners. You could use fresh zucchini in the blender as a thickener. And I have also herbs and spices, on hand always. And so, I use these accoutrements, I have seaweed powders, freeze-dried mushrooms, mushroom powders. I add these accoutrements to my dressings to make the bulk of my food, which is everything I've sourced above, from my garden, from farmers markets, to make something that's actually palatable and good for me to eat, right? So don't forget about those guys. That'll help you be a better opportunistic eater by having some of these staples, herbs and spices, seasonings, nuts and seeds that are eaten in much lower quantities, just to make your fruits and vegetables, which should be the dominant part of your diet, taste even better. Now, the one thing I didn't mention is I do also shop at a wholesale produce terminal. I did not mention this in this video because most of you guys are not able to shop at a wholesale produce terminal near you. But, if I had to put that in the list, I would actually put that probably above, I'd probably put it below the farmers markets, but above the warehouse club stores. So, if you could shop, better than the wholesale produce terminal is your garden, buying fresh from the farm, buying from farmers markets, then the wholesale produce terminal. So often when I make trips to LA to go to the wholesale produce terminal, I'll go by all the farmers markets first, fill in what I can with the best stuff there, and then I'll go to the wholesale produce terminal to, buy whatever else I can. At least if you're buying for the wholesale produce terminal, you're basically kind of taking out one of the steps. You're taking out the retailer step, which produce may be sitting in the retailer's back, warehouse, or, sitting on a shelf for a couple days or even a week or more before it's sold to you. Plus, you're going to get better prices. Check the links down below for a few videos I've made at different wholesale produce terminals around the country. I mean, I've gone to the ones in LA and San Francisco on a regular basis, and been to ones in, I think, Chicago, and maybe one in Texas, and somewhere else. But that's pretty much for this episode. I really want you guys to eat opportunistically, much like every other creature on the planet. Eat what you could get, right? Eat a plant-based, nutrient-dense, opportunistic diet is the way I want you guys to eat. I know this is adding a spin on things, and this is just my thoughts. This is what I think. This is my concept. I've never heard eating a opportunistic, plant-based, nutrient-dense diet anywhere else. You guys heard it here first. It's not traditionally trained, I think, out of the box, and I'm just basically explaining to you guys how I eat and how I make this work for me, and saving money at the same time. And maybe some of you guys, this will help you guys out. Hopefully you guys have invested, 40, 35 minutes now in this video. Hopefully it's of value to you. If it is, hey, please be sure to like this video, and also be sure to share with somebody else. Make sure other people are watching this video so that they know how to source the highest quality food for the lowest price, eat the most nutrient dense so that they could have the best health, and the most disease fighting diet on the planet, which is a nutritarian diet, focused around fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, highest, phytochemicals and phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes. I'm coming out about every week or so. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. This channel is dedicated to my lifestyle, how I eat, eating more fruits and vegetables, and being healthy, and what I'm going through. Also, be sure to click the bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. Also, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 500 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel, dedicated to teaching you guys all the best ways to eat more fruits and vegetables so you can be healthy as possible. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.